All right, so welcome to everyone. This is Mountain City Public Montessori's middle school information night. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the school itself and then go into more detail about the adolescent program. We are in the January of the first year we have of school here at Mountain City Public Montessori. And it has been a thrilling year, and we have enjoyed getting to know our community. So let me tell you a little bit about ourselves. All right, we are Western North Carolina's only public Montessori school. We are located on the campus of Central United Methodist Church down on Church Street in downtown Asheville. We love our location. We are able to access both the Science Museum and the library readily at the moment. We hope to branch out to the Art Museum and to the theater as soon as we can for field trips and outings. We have free and reduced lunch to those who qualify. We have transportation available. We do have a bus. It does have a bus route before and after school. We have a variety of after-school options that are done off campus, and we make connections with partnerships so that we can provide that for families who are in need. We will enroll about 140 students for the 24-25 school year. We currently are K-6, and we are expanding to K-7 for the next school year, the 2024-25, and then we'll go to 8th in the 25-26. So this year's 6th graders will be rising 7th graders in our school, and then we'll follow them up to the 8th grade. Our mission here at Mountain City Public Montessori is to provide equitable access to a high quality, relevant Montessori education to meet the needs of all the students and to strengthen our community. Our vision here is at Mountain City Public Montessori, we believe all students deserve access to a quality education that affirms each individual and enhances the collective by giving them an opportunity to practice living in and contributing to a more just society. Let me tell you a little bit about Montessori pedagogy in and of itself. Maria Montessori was a scientist and a doctor. She was Italian. She observed children. Oh, sorry, the light went out. She observed children and noticed some similarities across race, socioeconomic, all of the different layers of culture, and created a pedagogy that is in response to a student's developing needs and abilities as they age. This pedagogy allows for student autonomy from a very early age. It has a 3-hour work cycle each day. That 3-hour work cycle is in the morning, and that it consists of lessons individually and small groups, as well as follow-up work that is done by students individually in small groups. The work cycle will look a little different than a typical or traditional classroom. You would have students working on math alongside students who are working in language and geography. The various subjects are happening all simultaneously, while a teacher is maybe working with a small group or an individual on a skill or a concept. Montessori pedagogy includes a multi-age classroom that allows students to move from novice to mentor. So there are 3 years of a class in a classroom. So there's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade all within the same classroom. The same for preschool and kindergarten are together. And 4th through 6th grade are together. And then what we will talk about tonight is the middle school grouping, which is 7th and 8th grade in Montessori. Montessori has hands-on materials. We move from the concrete concepts to the abstract concepts. So as you're learning with manipulatives, so that you are able to understand an abstract idea, maybe before your mind is ready to move to the abstract. So you're able to have a concept such as a unit and 1,000 and work with materials that help you to understand those two things at as early as age 3. You have 3 years in the same classroom. This is a lovely part of Montessori. Not only do you build community in that way, that allows you to be that novice and that mentor, but it also allows for a teacher to really get to know an individual student and to support that student over 3 years. Students learn care for the classroom environment. So they are doing practical life in the environment, taking care of plants, sweeping, cleaning up after themselves, all from the age of 3, and it continues through that adolescent environment. And concentration is highly valued. Teachers are trained to notice moments of concentration and to allow and to even protect those moments, so that when a child is working with a skill or concept, they can really dive in and learn more in that moment than they would have had it been broken up. So Mountain City is a charter school, is a public charter school. So that means that we here follow state laws and requirements. We provide EC services, so we have IEPs and 504s. We use benchmark testing, such as the beginning of grade and end of grade testing. We also use other testing to assess math and language mid-year and executive functioning throughout the year. These testing pieces help us to understand where a student is at that specific moment to be able to better prepare them for the skills that they are lacking. And our teachers either have an NC license, a North Carolina license, or a Montessori credential, and some of our teachers have both. So let's speak a little more specifically to the adolescent program. Adolescent program, like I mentioned before, is 7th and 8th grade in a combined classroom. Next year, we hope to have 12 7th graders, and in the following year, it'd be closer to 24. So it would be 7th and 8th grade. So Maria Montessori says, there is one thing that education can take as a sure guide, and that is the personality of the children who are to be educated. So as I was mentioning before, Maria Montessori observed children and created a pedagogy in response to what she saw. And so she looked at the personality of the children, and in each age grouping, she realized that there was a different need, a different way to educate them. And so at each plane of development is what we call it, that the 3 to 6 year old, at the 6 to 9 year old, at the 9 to 12, and then what we are speaking of, the 12 to 15 year old, each classroom is designed to specifically respond to those students that are in that classroom. So in adolescent level, we have what's called the Montessori's plan of work and study, and it has 2 specific parts. We have practical considerations, so the physical and the people in the environment that we have to think about, and also the educational syllabus. And we are going to go in a little bit more depth about each of these 2 things as I move through these slides. The first one we'll look at is the practical considerations. So in the adolescent grouping, in that plane of development, she understood that group needed connection with land, needed connection with a farm. And while it is not farmland here in downtown Asheville isn't as accessible as in the country, right? We can have an urban farm, and we can get our hands dirty and dig in the soil. So what that looks like for an urban campus is planting in the land that is surrounding our building, making raised beds. It looks like having a greenhouse. It looks like having indoor planting. And it also looks like connecting with urban farms that are in our area to build a partnership and to visit these places and to learn from people who are farmers, as well as experiment with ourselves as the students. This farm piece feeds into studies about science, and also through our connection with agriculture throughout humanity. Another piece is a store. So one of the ideas is that you would farm your land. You would have vegetables and honey. Perhaps you have a beehive. On larger spaces, maybe you have animals such as chickens where you sell eggs, or maybe goats, those kinds of things. And so that your store is a way of connecting your hard work on the land and then selling it to others in your area. Another piece of the store is to support the connection between in economy. So between product and exchange, and to really understand what our society is made up of. That we have this exchange of product and demand exchange. Another piece on this wheel is a guest house. One of the ways in which a guest house happens at an urban location is through hosting events at the school and really being that welcoming presence, providing tours, for instance, with tea or coffee, being able to come to family education nights and provide welcome. It also can look like partnering with maybe a bed and breakfast in the downtown area and helping with reservations or cleaning services, those kinds of things. It can look at a lot of different kinds of ways in that way of welcoming others. The next area on this wheel is the Museum of Machinery. So this piece of the puzzle is about supernature. It's about humans building and creating and technology. And having an area, having tools, having equipment, machinery that you can take apart and figure out how it works. So this can be in a lot of different ways. It can be as farm machines that are taken apart. It could be engines. It can be even technology in the form of computers and understanding coding and the way that computers work. The residence piece. There are Montessori adolescent programs that provide boarding components. We are not going to provide a boarding component here at Mountain City. We are wanting to provide opportunity, though, for that residence, for being together and learning skills about life. So learning how to plan meals and cook together, how to do your own laundry, how to plan trips, how to take the bus, how to take a subway, all those kind of life skills that you start needing as you grow into adulthood, being able to provide those in a safe and holistic way with adult aid. We obviously need adolescents within our practical considerations of a program, and then we need adults. We will have adults both from, we will have 2 guides in our program for our 12 students and then 24 students. And also we make partnerships with people in the area in order to give adolescents a variety of adults to look to and to see. One of the things that adolescents want is to see who they might become and what type of adult they want to be. And so to give them a variety of options is a very helpful way for them to process different parts of their personality. So that is a goal, not only just to have their teachers, but to have experts come in so that there are a variety of ways that they can see themselves in their future. All right, so let's talk about what are we going to study while we are here. We are going to have self-expression. So that is both, in self-expression, it is talking about creative expressions such as art and music, but it is also talking about physical expression. So such as learning skills in sports, or learning yoga or dance, or physical expression of running, those kinds of things. So typically what has happened is that the group of students who form your program make a list of things that they would be interested in learning, and then you divide that into weeks, into units, and make connections with local places to have experts train or give skills to your students, as well as some of your staff may be able to provide skills from hobbies that they have. The next area is psychic development, and this is kind of a tricky term that Montessori has. It does not mean being a psychic. It's just talking about your mental development, and in specific, this is talking about language, both foreign language, world language, and then also learning to express yourself through language. So making sure that we are still learning how to write essays and learning how to cite sources and what is a well-crafted sentence, building our vocabulary, building Latin roots, all of those pieces, as well as diving into math concepts. And one of the interesting things about Montessori, and specific to math, if we're talking about an adolescent program, is the idea that we learn math in order to do things in our life. And so making sure that as we are learning concepts, we're making connections. Sorry, the light went off again. That we're making connections to why we're learning that math concept. So for instance, you might be in this picture, for instance, that I have on the bottom right. This is a group of students who were building a set for one of the plays that we were doing together. And so they had to learn the math that they would need to build the frame for this, this set. All right, the next area is the study of earth and living things. That is basically talking about biology. And we are on a farm, again, to support the idea of why do we need to know this? Well, we need to study biology so that we know what ingredients need to go in the soil. We need to study biology so we know why our bees maybe aren't producing as much honey as we would expect. Those pieces of practical knowledge join in with the state standards that you would need to know in biology. The study of human progress and the building up of civilization, the next piece, is talking about basically chemistry and the progress that we have made in those kinds of physics, astronomy, those kinds of things. And again, if we go back to soil composition on a farm, we want to make sure that the chemicals are correct in our soil so that our food produces well and produces organically. The next one, the study of history of mankind. This is basically history. We talk about the history of mankind, the study of the history of mankind through connection to place as a first step. So is, for instance, we are in Asheville, North Carolina. We may decide that we are going to have a unit on the Cherokee people, and not only who they were as they lived here, but then what has happened over time to their culture and the progress that or the situations that have changed for them over time. So it's both a step to the past in the study of history of mankind, and then a pull to the present to help them understand why we would study something that is in the past, but to also make connections to what is happening today. And that ends my presentation as far as all the particulars for my slideshow. Let me pull up. I am going to stop sharing. And then if you have any questions, that feels like a broad overview. So please come at me with the different specifics that you have.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of like transitioning to high school from that kind of background, and also if you guys have thought about or would consider expanding into high school in the future?
Oh, that would be, I would love that, but we do not currently have plans for high school. Okay, so transitioning. From my experience, I'm new to the Asheville area. And I have been working in the adolescence programs for a while. So from my experience, students who transition from this type of program into high school are very prepared academically. They're prepared socially because we work a lot as a community and on problem solving and conflict resolution. Remarks have been made to me have been around feeling bored, feeling confined in a traditional setting, if that's what the high school looks like, and a lot of success. Their students coming through this kind of program are self-directed. They know what they want to learn and how to learn it. They know how to study. And they know how to write an essay and how to cite it, and trying to think of, and high schools that I have worked with in the past have commented on how they want our students, the Montessori students, in their programs. Did that answer your question, Erica?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So will there be a lottery for, like, there still be a lottery system for entering into the middle school grades?
So what will happen is you would enroll in the lottery, yes, and then depending on how many spots are taken, then it'll go through that lottery system, right? So we have sixth grade students right now who may stay for the program, and then we would have a certain amount of spots available or open. So if our enrollment is more than the spots that are open, then yes, it would go through a lottery program.
Okay.
State standards, state curriculum standards are folded into a Montessori curriculum environment. Also, if a learner hasn't been in a Montessori environment and encounters it first as an adolescent, how is that transition handled? Those are some good questions. So yes, state standards are folded into the Montessori curriculum and environment. It is how adolescent teachers are preparing lessons. So it's both taking these ideas of units. So for instance, one of the units that would be a fabulous thing for this school is working with water quality, because we are very close to the river. So those pieces and parts would it provide chemistry and biology opportunities. So those teachers would take the state standards in relationship to chemistry and biology, and then match them to the skills that we need to study about the biology of the river and the water quality, and do testing on the water and all of that kind of stuff. So that's how it's kind of folded together. And if a learner hasn't been in a Montessori environment. Okay, so we are a public charter Montessori, so we will have this kind of experience throughout our life as a school. And it is a little difficult at first for students who have not been a part of this kind of program to settle and to find their way. From my experience, it is more about the choice and the self-starter or the initiative to learn coming from yourself piece that's harder. And it's because they've had a system of being told what to do and what to learn and how to learn it for so long. You kind of have to break out of that cycle and start understanding that learning can be just joyous and you can just want to know more. And that's why you learn it. Or you can learn it because it's something you need in order to accomplish a project. And so those pieces within the adolescent program really help those students transition, because if we have a project that we're really excited about and we have skills that we have to do in order to do this project, it's kind of that natural creation of joy, right? That natural investigative spirit that takes hold. So it is something that is navigated, especially as our first year program. We will have students who maybe haven't had Montessori experience prior. And so it's something that our teachers will take into consideration as they navigate their community. Thank you, Mary, for that question. Collaboration between, I'm also curious about collaboration between students and what that looks like. Yeah, so at all levels of Montessori, there's collaboration between students on projects or sharing information around skills and concepts. Kind of depending on where the students' directions take them. It could be as a group, a large group of the whole 12 working on a project together. And also it could be smaller groups working together. As far as academics go, there are also pieces of units where you as an individual have a project that you need to accomplish. And then also along with that, you have a group project that needs to be accomplished that you're working together towards a goal. Outside of that, collaboration is a huge part of the community building process. So adolescents are socially driven. Montessori said that there are social newborns. So if you think of your newborn baby and how everything was just very new and awkward and exciting, and that is kind of how the social newborn, the adolescent is. And so they need a lot of assistance from the adults in their environment to guide them through different situations with peers and other adults in the environment. And those collaborative pieces of working through social and emotional development are part of what makes up the community. And so there are daily meetings to talk through what needs to happen that day, very businesslike. And then there are weekly meetings that are more around what issues have come up in the week that we need to talk through, what's going well, what should we celebrate together. So there's a both and. It's both collaboration academically, but then also collaboration within community.
So if a student needs more help, like if they are dyslexic or something like that, how does that work within the Montessori method?
Yeah, so we have an exceptional children's coordinator who is in charge of IEPs and 504s and providing the services that meet those requirements. And also she works with our teachers to make sure that they know what accommodations need to be provided, about maybe a specific difference that a student has, so that they're more educated in how to work with that student on a day-to-day basis. There's there are ways in which, because Montessori pedagogy is in response to student needs, there's a little bit of individualized curriculum that happens, or curriculum that responds to an individual. So some parts of 504 accommodations in specific are already layered in through the curriculum or the way in which we instruct students. And then other things. So for instance, we already let students take as much time as they need when they're doing some sort of an assessment. We already have quiet places that you can work that are apart from the group. Those kinds of things kind of come up in traditional school. And then, yes, we have that coordinator who is going to make sure that those students get the services they need. The other aspect of our school is that we have a system, it's called Montessori Early Intervention. And it's a system by which teachers identify students early on, and maybe there's something going on and they talk with the family about, oh, this is something I noticed about your student. And then you already know something's come up. Then maybe they work with the team. So at the adolescent team, we'll get together in a meeting and talk about students and say, oh, this is something that I've noticed. Oh, this is something that I've noticed, and work together collaboratively to support that student. And then there's the other layer of administration who also comes into those meetings, and the Montessori coach and the school counselor and the EC coordinator. All of these people come together to support students as needs arise, and set goals and set data collection, and that works to the benefit of the student. And then over time, if it's still unresolved, or there's still some struggles that we still haven't found what quite is going on, then we have another level of a family meeting, of talking to more staff to see what we're missing, to make some more observations. And eventually, if that needs to lead to an IEP, then that's where it goes. But there's a team. It's not just that one teacher. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Would next year's class of 12 seventh graders be in an isolated classroom, since they'd be the only middle schoolers? Will there be a new teacher for this group next year? So yes, they would be in a classroom by themselves on the 3rd floor. And they will be 2 teachers for that group. So they will coordinate between the 2 teachers, math and language, and history and science. As a collective, those 2 leads would teach those subjects. And then all the coordination of the farm and the microeconomy and trips and connection with downtown and businesses downtown. So an isolated classroom in the sense that, yes, it will only be 7th graders for next year, but then the following year it would be the 7th and 8th as a combined class. There are also opportunities across the school, even this year with K-6, but there are ways to connect students across age bands. So for instance, a 7th grader might go down and do some reading work with a 3rd grader, or maybe go give a lesson in math to a 4th grader. There's going to be those kind of cross connections happening throughout the school. When I was taking training to become an adolescent teacher, one of the things that I kept thinking was how much I wish I could go back and be in middle school again, which is very strange to say, because your middle school experience isn't necessarily the best time of your life. It's just very awkward and your body's changing in weird ways. And the farm and the microeconomy aspects are just so invigorating and exciting that, you know, I wish that I had learned in that way. If you think of any other questions after this presentation, you are more than welcome to reach out to us. I will put my information in the chat so you can grab it, or you can just my email. Oh, I forgot a letter. My email is Rachel, RACHAEL @mcpublic.org. You can also just email info@mcpublic.org. That's just the general email for the school, and someone can get back to you with information. We are excited to offer this to Asheville, and I think that it's going to be just so amazing to have 12 and 13-year-olds on our campus, along with all the students that we already have. They're a joy to be around. If you have no more questions for me at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And I really appreciate everyone coming and spending your Tuesday evening with me.